This video was recorded live before a canned studio audience. It's Friday Night Movie Reviews, and here they are, Chris and Keith.
Thank you. I'm Keith.
I'm Chris.
And this is Friday Night Movie Reviews. Now, if you watched our previous video, you know that we just reviewed Ghostbusters Afterlife, and this review is going to be of the second film, Ghostbusters
Frozen Empire.
Empire.
Or as we would say, a.k.a. Ghostbusters 4.
Ghostbusters 4. Now, to give you a basic premise of the movie, this movie kind of takes up where the other one left off. Now, if you don't know anything about Ghostbusters, you may want to watch the original two movies.
Yes.
All right, because the original two movies are going to set up the whole premise, the whole storyline for this film and the one that was before it.
Yep, and you really had to have watched the last one because all these characters were introduced in the last one, so they're going to skip their introductions. They're just going to go into you, expecting you to know who these characters are.
Exactly.
So, go watch Afterlife, watch our review for Afterlife, then come back to this, then watch Frozen Empire.
Right. So the basic premise of the movie is you have the family. They have moved from Oklahoma. They are now living in New York.
Yes.
Where all of the ghost busting activity goes on. They're in the firehouse, the original firehouse from the original movie.
Yep.
And they have the Ecto-1, so they're flying around New York with Ecto-1, and they are ghost busting, just like the original Ghostbusters. So, but it's a family unit this time. You have Paul Rudd's character who comes back, and not only does he come back, but he has more of a family role in this movie.
Yep, he's become the stepdad.
Exactly, which is a big step up. Now, so the basic premise of this movie is there is an ancient evil. We've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
I think like in every one of them up to this point.
Yeah, pretty much. It's always some like pre-script language that they come from.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But you know what? There's some extra little surprises with this, and they keep it fresh. So don't get too bored with it, and don't think, oh my gosh, they're doing the same thing again. Kind of yes, kind of no. So watch the movie because it does do things differently. An ancient evil, and it escapes.
Yep. And you'll find out why. And, there's a lot of things there. Obviously, from the trailer, the name of the movie, it involves ice. So, obviously, this is a monster that involves ice.
Frozen Empire.
So, so you get to deal with an ice one in this one. And, obviously, he's got big horns because you can see him in the trailer. And his name's Garaka. We can go ahead and spoil that.
Yeah, his name is Garaka.
By the time you actually
it doesn't really matter.
You'll forget, but between now and actually watching the movie. So
right. So there are some fresh things in here. They introduce some new ghosts in this. They actually have a lab where they are where they're keeping. I wouldn't say storing, because if you're a Ghostbusters fan, you kind of view storing as they're put into the big thing, and when the light is green, the trap is clean.
So
that's their storage container.
Yeah,
but they're
studying.
These are being studied. They're like in cages, like a ghost zoo.
And they've invented new. They've got like a wrist. It's a wrist proton pack now that you can. It's like a wrist shooter. Mm-hmm. They've invented devices that can extract ghosts from like haunted items.
Mm-hmm.
Some little minor spoilers there. So they're expanding on the mythos of the Ghostbusters too. You're going to find out some stuff that's related to Garaka in the movie. That's pretty cool with a certain character that's in it. They I'm trying to avoid spoilers, so it's very difficult, you know.
Which turned out to be my wife's favorite character, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Kamal Nujani is the guy's name. I forget what his name is actually in the movie, but he's called the Fire Master, and you'll find out why when you watch it. He's basically the new like Rick Moranis. That's really what I considered him to be. And his comedic timing, I would keep him around for the next one.
$50.
Yep.
Oh, it's important. I can't let it go for no less than 60.
It belonged to my dear departed Nani.
So his character is really great in this movie, and he adds, not saying that this movie would be non-comedic without him, but he adds just an extra push towards the comedic side, but it's not ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's not ridiculous.
This one does follow the same trend as the last one, where it does have more drama in it, where again the first two do not. These are following a new pattern because these are a family of Ghostbusters, and since they're a family, obviously there's more drama involved.
Right.
You've got two teenage kids that are growing up, so they're dealing with teenage angst, and you're getting to see more of that from Phoebe than you did in the last one. You know, she's becoming a young woman at this point, and she's frustrated that she's not an adult yet. Same thing that we all go through in real life, so we can relate to her character.
I think she stated that she was 15 in this movie.
Yep.
In the original, she was supposed to be 12. So somewhere in that time frame, 3 years have passed.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they're keeping the same with 4 Ghostbusters. So you have Paul Rudd, the mom, Trevor, and Phoebe being the 4 main Ghostbusters. Now the coolest thing that was revealed in the trailer is that the character Peck is back, and now he's the mayor of New York.
Right.
So if you really like William Atherton playing Peck, he is back.
Right.
And he's just as slimy as he always was. I've always enjoyed him I always look back his career. He was always the slimy, guy you couldn't stand in the movie, and he just did it so well. And so if you've been missing him,
can I please see the containment unit, Mr. Bateman? And he still has that same slimy voice, just like he was saying. It's incredible. It's great. It's great. Loved it. Loved his return.
Yes.
From watching the trailers, when I saw him there, I was like, no way, they bring him back.
And we even guessed in the trailer that he was the mayor, and I don't really consider that a spoiler, just to go ahead and tell you that he's the mayor. Like, it was clearly the mayor's office, as it looked like the mayor's office from the first 2 films.
Yep.
And I'm like,
so that, I mean, it's great. It's great.
This one, it still does, oh, look at that, every now and then, but they don't rely so heavily on nostalgia in this one, because now since with the last movie, they brought you up to date if you weren't a fan of Ghostbusters, so they kind of just drop you in it this time. And now they're introducing new lore and new characters. I would say that's kind of where the detriment of the film happens, is there are so many characters packed in this movie. You know, my criticism from the last one was there could have been characters cut. There could have been characters cut out of this one too.
There could have been.
And
there could have.
Like, I didn't need the Patton Oswalt character, and I know most people roll their eyes when they see him now. It's like, oh, there's a nerdy movie, they got to put Patton Oswalt in it for some reason. But I will tell you, he's actually not obnoxious in the 5 minutes that he's in the movie. He's just in there to explain exposition in the movie. That's it.
Right.
To explain where Garaka comes from, the Fire Masters, and all that. Like, he explains all that. And I don't consider that a spoiler to ruin that for you, because I know most people are like, oh, I don't want to watch this just because he's in it, because you're overexposed to Patton Oswalt.
But his character does. Yeah, I mean, you say you could cut it out, and you probably could have, but his inclusion in the film is not too much of a detriment, in that he does add some flavor and some flair to it.
See, and they understood small doses,
right?
And that's the way you do with him. Is you don't let him be the main character in it, and he was just there long enough to do some exposition, and he actually did have some funny liners in it.
Yeah,
he did, and it fit with the Ghostbusters universe. Because I'm always afraid when they put him in something, it takes you out of the element of being in the movie.
Right.
I'm like, oh, it's Patton Oswalt. He just plays Patton Oswalt.
Right.
But no, it was fine.
He did a good job in this movie.
Yeah.
So the basic premise of the movie is you have the family in New York busting ghosts like the original Ghostbusters were. They're kind of taking up that mantle from the originals. And they got the experience from battling with Gozer from the previous film. And now they're out there doing things um, just like the original guys were. And then you have the angst from Phoebe starting to kind of get in the way of things.
Yep.
And that is sort of the basic premise of the movie is Phoebe takes more of a front and center kind of role in this film, and her character does a lot of character development in this film. And
really her relationship, not just with, herself, but just with her family in general,
Right,
like her
exactly.
mother and then her stepdad. And there's a really good touching moment at the
Yeah,
very end of the
yeah.
film, and I don't want to ruin that. And you'll know it when you see, be like, oh, okay, that's what he's talking
It's a
about.
tearjerker.
It is.
It's a tearjerker.
And,
Everybody get your Kleenexes ready. 'Cause
And it's a
you're gonna need
testament.
it.
It's a testament to their good acting too, because
Yeah.
Paul Rudd sells it, Phoebe sells it.
Yeah.
Like it's funny. I had forgotten how good the mom actually is. Carrie Coon plays the mother, and she actually balances Paul Rudd's character very nicely, where she's kind of more of like the stern character, the more serious ones out of the two of them.
Right, right.
Because he starts quoting the song. He's like, he's like,
that
Bustin'
part's-
makes me feel good.
That's hilarious.
And that's
is
from
hilarious.
the trailer, so I can, I can say that.
I just have one more thing to say. No,
What?
don't.
Don't.
No, don't. Bustin' makes me feel. Get out.
Yep.
Go.
just that was perfect. Like, you want a good example of a comedic scene in the film. Like, that was good.
Bustin' makes me feel good. Go.
And these characters continue to grow on me. Like,
Yeah,
and I
they
felt
do.
like they used Trevor and Lucky a lot less in this one, I felt like, and it was like just the right amount, where the whole joke is he's still learning how to drive a car. I'm like, okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, so I was okay with that part, and he's kind of she's all throughout the film, she's like, oh, you're an adult, you can solve this problem now, because he's dealing with Slimer the entire movie.
Exactly. And they do bring Slimer back, which is really cool, and we're not spoiling anything because you see him in the trailer.
Yep.
So, a lot of good aspects in this movie, not so much nostalgia in this, and I'll get into that a little bit later whenever I give my feelings on the movie. Does have some language. I mean, it's PG-13, so it's going to have some language in it. The violence, again, is more aimed towards the ghosts.
Yep.
It does have... This one has a couple of more creepy moments in it. My son was more creeped out by one of the ghosts that was in one of the containers more than he was anything else in the film. So if that tells you anything, it does have a little creep factor in it, but it's not too terrible.
Yeah, this one's just consistent with the other three, where I did mention it's more drama, but as far as like the action and stuff like that, the language, it's just the same as the other three. So
Right.
You know what you're getting with these movies.
Right. So just like the other one, just like we said with that, if you didn't enjoy the first original two, you probably are not going to enjoy this one either. If you just had a big hatred for the first two movies, then you're probably not going to enjoy this one.
Yeah, and there's people generations that are younger than me, because I was born in the 80s. But the people that were born, after the 90s and the early 2000s, they didn't care for the third one. So more than likely, if they didn't like the third one, they're not going to like this one.
Right. So, how did you feel about the film?
I liked it. I thought it was a little bit crowded. That's really my biggest criticism of the movie. There was just so many people, and they could have cut back again. And it was just like, okay, who can we trim out of this thing to make this work better? I did like how they used the original cast a lot more in this one, because Bill Murray's in the earlier parts, and he don't just show up at the very end this time.
Right.
So I really appreciated that. Dan Aykroyd was through the entire movie.
Right.
And I feel like they need to be, even Winston, they show him a lot more in this one. And I felt like they need to take on more of the mentor role. And the fact that they had, like, kind of like they did at the end of the third one, where they kind of melded the two together and they defeated Gozer. I really liked how the new and the old came together and fought this one too. And they did it so well. Like, I was really impressed. And it's just like I said, you can tell that they cut a lot of things out of this movie. This movie was probably a lot longer.
It probably was.
And they really had to cut it down for time. And that was the only thing I noticed, but I was still invested with the characters. I still cared about the characters. Everything light sounds as far as special effects goes. The only special effect one that was kind of rough was the sewer dragon at the beginning. Like, the CGI on that one was a little. They could have they could have colored it up a little bit more
Yeah.
like Slimer.
Probably, yeah.
That was the only real one that kind of took me out of it. Like I like the female ghost that's like befriends Phoebe and her.
Mhm.
They have like a friendship in the movie, and that looked fine. That was the only CGI effect I just did not like was just the sewer dragon, and it's the very first ghost they fight at the beginning of the movie. It's
Right.
nothing to spoil that part. You can
Right,
see it. You can
right.
see it in the trailers. So don't let that distract you. Like when they show Slimer, Slimer looks like Slimer. He's the same type of green that he was in Ghostbusters 2.
Has the ugly yellow teeth.
Like they just they did that perfectly. So that was the only time the CGI took me out of it.
Right.
As far as like characters, anything they said, I was all fine with that. But yeah, it was just the movie was just a little too crowded. They could cut out a couple of these people. Like
Right.
you didn't need the British engineering guy. You didn't need Lucky back in it again.
Right. Right.
I kind of wish that they kind of would make. I did like where Podcast was in it, where he's basically the new Ray. Like,
Yeah.
I really do feel that way.
Yeah,
and
I
I
do
liked
too.
his relationship with Ray. So
Right.
I actually, the little bit they showed of Podcast, I was actually okay with that.
Right.
But yeah, they could just trim it a little bit and then continue the melding of the new and the old together, which I know eventually, unfortunately they're going to pass and move on and all
Right.
that kind of stuff because, all of them are basically like in their either the late 70s or early 80s at this
Yeah.
point. I like to continue to see more of that. And I'm looking at you, Sony. I want Oscar, Dana Barrett's son, to appear in this movie.
Yes.
I even left a comment on the trailer when the trailer dropped for this movie. I'm like, Oscar Barrett needs to be played by Chris Pratt. Just saying. I think he would be perfect for these movies because he would feel a lot long because he's good with ad libbing, just like how Paul Rudd is. But I mean, as long as they
And
can't,
Bill Murray.
and Bill Murray, yeah, because that's
Mhm.
what really sells a Ghostbusters movie is ad libbing. Because even like McKenna Grace as Phoebe, like I enjoy her so much, and even Carrie Coon who plays the mom, like they're good at it, like,
Right.
and that's really what sells a good Ghostbusters movie is can you ad lib, can you have that really just kind of like on the point comedy in the movie, and that's really what
Right.
makes a Ghostbusters movie in my opinion. But I liked it. I'm gonna put this one on par. I gave Afterlife a 7.5. I'd probably give this one an 8.
Right.
Because
Right.
it because they moved it back to New York, it felt more like Ghostbusters, and having the original cast in it more kind of helped sell that. And they weren't in it for just nostalgic reasons. Like they were
Right.
they didn't just come up the show to save the day at the end. I
Right.
felt like that they were a part of this movie, and that's what I wanted, more of a cohesiveness. So I'll give this one an 8. I mean, granted, I'll still watch the original 2 a lot more than I'd watch these newer 2, but that doesn't diminish these 2 movies' value. Like I still like both of these. So
Right.
yeah, I give it an 8 Pepsis out of 10.
So I feel almost the same way as Chris does. I liked the nostalgia of the movie. There wasn't a whole lot in it, not as much as Afterlife. And I feel like the reason why they did that is I feel like they're kind of trying to branch away from the nostalgia and form make their own path in
Yeah.
this. And you kind of get that feel with this movie that the original cast is more there for mentoring purposes rather than just making an appearance just so they can make an appearance in a
Yeah,
Ghostbusters
it'd be a
movie.
cash grab. Yeah.
It was more kind of a mentoring type thing, and I really liked the feel of that aspect of the movie. The actors were more into the characters than they were in the previous films, so there's a lot of character development there where they're more comfortable in the characters now, and I really enjoyed that. Like you, I do think they could have cut some people out and just not had some people in, and the film still would have been good. They could have given those lines to the characters that were already there. Other than that, I don't really have any gripes about this movie. I thought it was done very well. I enjoyed the music in it. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed all of the aspects of the movie. There were certain things in it where I was starting to kind of cringe for a little bit because I thought they were going to do some things or go a direction that they didn't really go. But other than that, it was really just a good movie, and I enjoyed it. So I would probably give this probably about 8, maybe 8.5 popcorns. right along with you, Chris, because I did enjoy it. It was really good. Um, but there again, like I said just a few minutes ago, if you didn't enjoy the first two original movies, this is one of those movies that you're probably not going to like too much because it does have a big nostalgia feel to it, and it does play on the original too.
And there is a mid-credit scene. There isn't one at the very end this time. So, does it set up for another sequel? Possibly. It would be interesting. I think they put that one kind of more in there as a gag.
I do too.
Remember to like, share, subscribe. Remember to hit that bell for notification for when our next video drops. Leave us a comment. What did you feel about Frozen Empire? Tell us your thoughts. We'd love to hear them.
Exactly. We like to answer your comments. So tell your friends and family about us. Have them subscribe. Hey, we want to grow, and we want to grow with you guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. We always enjoy spending time with you. We always enjoy you watching our videos and spending time with us as well. Grab your DVD or your Blu-ray or stream this film and watch it. And hey, enjoy your movie. Thank you. Have a good night.